Hi everyone, welcome back to a Niger Man's Perspective. And finally, Diddy has been arrested. I think I did a video some time back, several months ago actually, when I was asking the question, why hasn't he been arrested? It's happened now. It was arrested a couple of days ago, and the charges are damning. The charges are damning. So today I'm going to just really I'm going to try and break down what the whole thing is about. So the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, they had a sealed indictment that has now been released to the public. So literally three counts. So the first count is on racketeering conspiracy. The second count against Diddy is sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. And the third count is transportation to engage in prostitution. So all very grave acts, to be honest. So this 14-page federal indictment against Sean Diddy Combs outlines a series of severe charges focusing on his alleged involvement in conspiracy, sex trafficking, racketeering, coercion, transporting of sex workers from one state to the other. The key moments from this indictment include freak-offs. So Diddy is accused of organizing multi-day sexual events involving multiple commercial workers who are not named in this 14-page document, by the way. I guess we'll find out in court who they are. And will it be known people? Will it be people that worked with him? We just have to wait and see. These events were allegedly drug-fueled, and Diddy reportedly coerced participants into sexual acts, sometimes recording them as leverage for blackmail. So also be interesting if those videos or those recordings will be played in court. The document also talks about use of drugs and control. The indictment claims that Diddy supplied victims with drugs such as cocaine, MDMA, and ketamine, keeping them in a vulnerable state, which is against the law. Victims were also allegedly subjected to violence, threats of financial harm, reputational damage, and manipulation using the recorded footage. Diddy is also accused of physically assaulting and intimidating victims, as well as monitoring their movements and medical records to maintain control. Wow. He allegedly used promises of career opportunities to lure and trap victims. The indictment describes how Diddy allegedly used his employees and associates to book hotels, stock supplies. You guys already know about the 1,000 bottles of baby oil, and clean up after events to conceal evidence. It also claims that Diddy had access to illegal firearms during these operations. The last part, cover-ups and intimidations. Diddy allegedly harassed and bribed witnesses and victims to stay silent. He's accused of calling victims to provide a false narrative of events and preventing them from cooperating with law enforcement, which is why he was denied bail earlier today. He was trying to get bail, but the judge ruled against it. He's going to remain in custody until the trial. So it seems as if Diddy's going to be in detention for quite some time. So I'm going to go through the document count by count. So at the beginning, remember I talked about the first count. I'm just going to try and summarize this. So the first count, Sean Combs, who is also known as Puff Daddy, who is also known as P. Diddy, who is also known as Diddy, who is also known as PD, who is also known as Love or Brother Love. They're saying that he abused, threatened, coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. And to do this, he used a variety of resources: his employees, influence of the businesses that he'd gathered over the years, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, amongst other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, The forced labor bit, is it forcing people to do things against their will? Maybe is that forced labor? Was it for payment? It says kidnapping. Who did he kidnap? It says arson. Whose house or whose vehicle did he burn? Or did people burn on his behalf? Bribery. Who did he bribe? Obstruction of justice. So in this first count, which is titled racketeering conspiracy, I'm not going to read everything. I'll put the link down below. It's just saying, literally just saying that PDD used these businesses as cover up to do a lot of sexual activity that is against the law. Now, his businesses include a recording studio, apparel line, if you remember Sean John clothing, alcoholic spirits business, that's Ciroc, marketing agency, television network, which is Revolt, and a media company, right? So very, very successful guy, billionaire, I believe. But they are saying that he manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity with male commercial sex workers. Wow. So it was watching, from what this is saying, is watching male commercial sex workers with women, and he was watching them. He was obtaining and distributing narcotics to them. It was controlling their careers. It was leveraging his financial support and threatening to cut off his financial support and using intimidation and violence. So these are damning allegations. This is saying that from 2009 till date, he assaulted women amongst other things. Wow. Striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects and kicking them. You guys remember the video, Cassie video? He was kicking Cassie. We saw that at the hotel. So at least that's an evidence of physical harm, which is not looking good. It's not looking good. And the document talks about it at a Los Angeles hotel in about March 2016, which was captured on video, and CNN showed that going downwards. Yeah, the indictment. Count one still talks about him using certain employees. Again, it doesn't mention anybody specific. Who are these employees? To carry, facilitate, and cover up his abuse and commercial sex. Now, he's saying security staff, household staff, personal assistants, high-ranking supervisors. Are these people still working with Sean Puffy Combs, or are they ex-employees? We'll see when the case goes to trial. It talks about the Combs enterprise. So it's actually an enterprise rather than like a limited company. So they're saying, it's a group of individuals associated in fact, but it's not a legal entity. And I talked about some of the businesses earlier. Bad Boy Entertainment for the music part, Combs Enterprise, and Combs Global. Literally is just talking about all the things that I mentioned earlier, using certain business employees to do those sexual activities for him, preserving, protecting, and promoting and enhancing the power, reputation, and brand of Sean Combs. So a lot of cover-up activities. They're saying that these employees or these people or these associates, it doesn't say who the associates are. Associates do not necessarily have to work for the enterprise. So it'll be interesting, like I said, to know who these individuals are, or could they be companies? We don't know. We'll find out as the case goes to trial. It just keeps on talking about the freak-offs. It goes into detail. He transported and caused to be transported commercial sex workers across state lines and internationally. Some people have been saying Mexico. No country has been mentioned here, but along state lines definitely suggests multiple states, so probably New York or California for these activities. Now he's saying sometimes unbeknownst to the victims, Combs kept videos he filmed of victims engaging in sex acts with commercial sex workers, right? And after the freak-offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. How much were these guys doing? Crazy. Controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, extra linens, lighting, cleaning the hotel rooms after the freak-ups to try to mitigate room damage, arranging for travel for victims, commercial sex workers and combs to and from freak-ups, resupplying combs with requested supplies, delivering large sums of cash to combs to pay the commercial sex workers, and scheduling the delivery of IV fluids. As you know, in March 2024, Combs' residences in Miami, Florida, and LA were raided. So it appears that what was discovered at those busts is what is in this indictment. I'm not gonna read every single thing, but like I said, it's down below. You can read it for yourself. I'm just trying to summarize. Again, he's saying that when employees and witnesses threatened his authority or reputation, they used his associates or members of the enterprise engaged in acts of violence, threats of financial and reputation harm, and verbal abuse to stop them. Combs threw both. It says, in addition, on multiple occasions, Combs threw both objects and people. He threw both objects and people, as well as he dragged, choked, and shoved others. Man, this is evil stuff I'm reading here. Really, really evil stuff. He also talks about the racketeering conspiracy from 2008 till date. It says that persons employed and associated with Combs' enterprise engaged in and the activities of which affected interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed together and with each other to violate the racketeering laws of the United States. Title 18, United States Code, Section 1962C, that is, to conduct and participate directly and indirectly in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. So multiple acts involving kidnapping. Who are these people that were kidnapped? I want to know. If anybody knows, put it in the comment section, please. Chargeable under the following provisions of state law: California Penal Code 207, which is kidnapping; California Penal Code 21A, attempted; California Penal Code aiding and abetting; and California Penal Code conspiracy. Multiple acts involving arson. Who was burnt, whose property was burnt, whose car was burnt, whose house was burnt. When we talk about arson, we're talking about fire. So what happened here? Multiple acts involving bribery, multiple acts indictable under Title 18, and it goes on and on. Multiple offenses involving the possession with intent to distribute or distribution of narcotics and controlled substances, including cocaine, oxycodone, alprazolam, and the list goes on, and ketamine. Wow. This is really, really bad. This is bad. This is damning. There's a lot here, and just to conclude the first count, wow. The defendant, it says, wow. The defendant agreed to, in and affecting interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly recruit, entice, harbor, transport, provide, obtain, advertise, maintain, patronize, and solicit by any means a person knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats of violence, fraud, and coercion as described in Title 18, United States Code, Section 1591E2, and any combination of such means would be used to cause the person to engage in a commercial sex act in violation of Title 18. Count number 2 isn't as broad as count number 1. So count number 2 really talks about sex trafficking. And this is either by force, by fraud, or by coercion. They're saying that between 2009 until date, they used commercial sex workers and other people. They knowingly recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, advertised, maintained, patronized, and solicited by any means a person knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats of force, fraud, and coercion as described in Title 18. Similar to the rest, but it's just saying that they sex trafficked people, right? From one part of the US to the other, and from one country to the US, for the purposes of, as it says, sex. The grand jury further charges. And the third part, count number 3, transportation to engage in prostitution. And the same thing, bringing people from one part of the country or from outside the country into the country, female victims and commercial sex workers, which I assume are male, to the intent that they engage in prostitution, which is against the law. And now, at the end, very important, everyone, as a result of committing the offense alleged in count 1 of this indictment, Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy, aka Diddy, aka PD, aka Love, the defendant shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to Title 18 United States Code, Section 1963, any and all interest the defendant acquired or maintained in violation of Title 18 United States Code, Section 1962, any and all interest in securities of, claims against, and property. Guys, stay with me. Property, money, property of, or contractual rights of any kind affording a source of influence over the enterprise named and described herein, which the defendant established, operated, controlled, conducted, and participated in the conduct of. And so, literally, his property and what he derived from proceeds, directly and indirectly, will be taken. That is what I understand this to be. As a result of the committing the offense, any property, right, will be sort of like seized, will be forfeited. Now, I don't know whether maybe what's going to happen to that. Is that forever? It doesn't really say in this indictment. But it further says, and this is towards the end, if any of the above described forfeitable property as a result of any act or omission of the defendant cannot be located, so the property cannot be located, it has been sold, it has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, has been substantially diminished in value, etc., etc., the court will get another property of Sean Combs up to the value of the above forfeitable property. So let's say his properties were like $200 million, for example, and he sold them. They can't locate it. It's been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court. It's been commingled with other property which cannot be subdivided without difficulty. They will go for any other asset that is worth the same 200 million. And that's the end, guys. That's the end. He will have his day in court. Like I said earlier, he was denied bail earlier today. He is not going anywhere anytime soon. These are grave charges. In my opinion, he's already been convicted in the court of public opinion. The court of law, he will have his say. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, like, and share. And I'll see you in the next one.